Hello, I'm Poorva Joshipura, Senior Vice President of the PeTA Foundation based out of the UK and the former CEO of PeTA India. Thank you so much, Global Vegan Business Expo 2020 organizers, for inviting me to speak today. Research from global market research firm Mintel reveals that 25%, a fourth, of young people here in the UK aged 21 to 30 say that this pandemic has made eating vegan more appealing. They're not the only ones who think this. In India, chicken meat sales plummeted by half in February as consumers became wary of animal-derived foods. This is no surprise. The link to live animal meat markets is clear. This pandemic is largely believed to have started in one such market full of live animals and carcasses in China. And COVID-19 is just the latest reminder, after SARS, after various deadly bird flu, swine flu, and the like, that meat markets, crowded farms, and slaughterhouses are breeding grounds for disease, putting us all at risk of serious illness and death. And so, it may be fair to say meat production is bad for the economy. By July, this pandemic had already cost the global economy the equivalent of 3.8 trillion US dollars and made 147 million people unemployed. In contrast, the meat industry turns over about 1 trillion US dollars a year. A study released by the Center for Risk Studies at the University of Cambridge Judge Business School warned that the COVID-19 bill could rack up to 82 trillion US dollars over the next 5 years. We all know by now, meat, egg, and dairy production is a major contributor to climate change as well. Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations put greenhouse gas emissions from animals reared for food at somewhere between 14.5 to 18% of all human-caused emissions. That's more than that caused by the transportation sector. In other words, that's more than all of the cars, trucks, ships, planes, and other vehicles in the world combined. It is warned climate change could cost the world economy US 7.9 trillion by 2050. Analysis by Oxford Economics, a global forecasting firm, warns hotter temperatures by 2100 could cut global GDP by more than 20%. But for India, the GDP could fall by 90% if things don't change. Simply put, hotter countries where average temperatures are already warmer than 15 degrees Celsius face the most climate change-related catastrophe. Our children and our grandchildren are on track to be in trouble if we don't act now. And then, of course, there's a colossal cost to individual animals used for meat, egg, and dairy production. Worldwide, some 80 billion land animals are farmed a year. 80 billion. That's about 8 times the number of humans there are on the planet. And up to trillions of fish are killed every year as well. Globally, about 70% of land animals and even most fish are reared on factory farms. On these intensive farms, land animals are raised in vast warehouses by the hundreds, thousands, or even millions in severe confinement. They're crammed into the tiniest spaces, cages, or crates. The factory farming of fish is similar. They too are confined to crowded cages or crowded barren concrete tanks. In factory farm systems, animals are typically denied natural movement, or often any movement at all. They are frustratingly deprived of the expression of behavior basic and important to their species, like building nests or raising their young. If chickens or other animals who are unfortunate enough to be born on an intensive farm get to feel the sun on their backs or breathe fresh air, it is usually brief, on the day that they are loaded onto trucks to be taken to slaughter. Animals who are not reared on factory farms do not escape misery. They still face other horrors, such as severe and deadly overcrowding in transport, or being hacked at with dull knives while still conscious. Consumers are responding with their plates and with their wallets to these and other concerns. Worldwide, conscious young people are the main drivers of the trend away from meat. Global Data, a leading data and analytics company that works with 4,000 of the world's largest companies, they say that 70% of the world population is either going meat-free or at least reducing their meat intake. But increasingly, consumers know meat is not the only problem. And so vegan eating is taking the world by storm. A 2019 article on a website run by Franchise India Holdings Limited, Asia's largest integrated franchise solutions company, reads the number of vegans in India rose by 360% in the decade before. In just a 3-year span, the number of vegans in America grew by 600%. In Great Britain, the number of vegans quadrupled in 5 years. India is in a unique position to seize the opportunities this national and global trend provides. The authors of a Forbes article titled, "Can India Lead the Vegan Economy Against Future Pandemics?" wrote, "The image that India is one of the only major vegetarian-friendly economies in the world can work to its advantage in the global marketplace if we work hard." And they wrote, "The Vegan India campaign with respect to food products can be constructed as a symbol of the global fight against COVID-19. The authors also wrote, "With India's image as a vegetarian powerhouse and the variety of climatic zones and soil conditions it has, there is ample scope in gaining a foothold in the global vegan economy." They go on to say, India has 45,000 diverse plant species spread over 16 different agroclimatic zones. Indeed, when chicken meat sales plummeted in India, the demand for jackfruit in the country soared. Because of its texture, jackfruit is often used as a replacement for meat in dishes around the world. Kerala is now exporting more than 500 tons of the fruit yearly, thanks to the demand of the global vegan market. India also produces soya, almond, oats, coconuts, and other plants commonly used to make vegan meats or milks. According to a survey recently conducted by Good Food Institute and the University of Bath, over 60% of Indians would like to buy plant-based meat regularly. Vegan meats are recognized as a helpful transition food for those who want to go meat-free. And this transition business is booming. According to a recent study by Polaris Market Research, the global plant-based meat market value was estimated to reach US $35.4 billion by 2027. India also has some of the world's cleverest scientists, and they are working on creating what's called clean meat. That is meat made from cells and not from slaughtering animals. And this is for those who simply refuse to give up real meat. The Maharashtra government has given the Institute of Chemical Technology a green light to establish a cellular agriculture research center in the state. The Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology in Hyderabad is also working on clean meat. Can you imagine meat without cruelty to animals and without slaughter? Global consultancy A.T. Kearney interviewed experts and reported their conclusion that most of the meat people eat in 2040 will not come from slaughtered animals. That is, 60% will either be clean or plant-based meat. This is a huge business opportunity for India. Let's make this figure 100%, and let's not wait until 2040 to make that happen. Vegan milk sales are already doing so well. The UK's Guardian newspaper called plant milk white gold. Vegan milks are made from a huge variety of nuts, hemp, rice, peas, or other plants, and so can provide a variety of health benefits and tastes. You can choose one You can choose one type for your coffee, like I do. I think oat milk is great for that. You can choose another one for tea. That would be soya for me. And then something else for cereal. I like almond or coconut. That makes animal milk not only cruel, but dull. Animal milk's reputation as a healthy food is shaken as consumers worry about its link to ailments like heart disease and type 2 diabetes, adulteration, the use of antibiotics and hormones, the environmental impact of milk production, and of course, cruelty to animals. Teenagers in the UK now consider cow's milk less healthy than plant milk. And with social media and communication what it is now, Indian teenagers won't be far behind. Social media also ensures that there's no hiding that male calves are commonly sold for slaughter, left to starve, or abandoned by the dairy industry. A report by Grandview Research reveals the global plant milk market size is estimated to reach US 41.06 billion by 2025. White gold indeed. And while no human should be drinking animal milk, for those who insist on doing so, companies like Perfect Day and New Culture use cells to make dairy products. And Singapore's Turtle Tree Labs is creating animal milk in the laboratory using stem cells. I'm sure with India's bright scientific minds, there is an opportunity here. However, to protect animals, the environment, and our health, entrepreneurs would be amiss to focus only on food. Experts have warned that trade in the skins of pythons, stingrays, crocodiles, alligators, and other exotic species for things like bags and boots creates the risk of viruses spreading to humans. Lynn Johnson, founder of Nature Needs More, told the UK's The Independent, any industry that involves humans handling not just consumption of exotic animals poses a risk of animal to human transmission for a newly evolved virus. And she says, also, it does not matter what these facilities breed these animals for, meat or skin, it's all a risk. But it's not just contact with wild animals we need to worry about. There are many known zoonotic, that is animal origin diseases, humans who deal with cows or buffaloes for meat and leather can get. They include tuberculosis, brucellosis, and anthrax, the latter of which is also used as a bioterrorism weapon. Some years ago in Bangladesh, cattle got ill after eating grass contaminated with anthrax. And then meat and leather industry workers slaughtered the anthrax-infected cattle, handled the carcasses and the animal skin, sold the animal parts. That outbreak infected hundreds of people. Leather production also means other types of harm to human health, environmental destruction, and enormous animal suffering. As you can see in a video on PETA India's YouTube page, in India, cows and buffaloes are crammed onto trucks in such high numbers that their bones snap, many suffocate or die en route to slaughter. Those who survive are hacked apart in full view of their companions, sawed at with overused, dull knives. Now, scientists are warning of endemic microbes on animal skin that withstand the severity of leather manufacture and cause issues ranging from allergic reactions, skin lesions, infections, or even death of tannery workers. Leather tanning involves a great deal of chemicals exposure to people who work in or live near tanneries too. Some of these chemicals are carcinogens or suspected carcinogens. And the exposures are linked to a variety of cancers, including lung, bladder, kidney, pancreatic, oral cavity, nasal and soft tissue sarcoma, and people who come in contact with these chemicals. But we don't need to kill animals, harm humans, or destroy the planet for shoes and belts. There is a better way. These days, leather is also made from plants, including cereal crops, pineapple leaves, cacti, corn, apple peels, grapes, and more. During Lakme Fashion Week, PETA India awarded Kanpur Flower Cycling Private Limited with the Best Innovation in Fashion Award for its product, Fleather. Fleather is a biodegradable leather made from discarded temple flowers, which would otherwise end up in the Ganga. Meanwhile, Malai is a Kerala-based initiative that makes leather out of coconut waste. In the US, Modern Meadow creates a material that's biologically similar to leather, but that doesn't harm any cows. Rather, its bioleather product is made through a process in which yeast cells are used to create collagen, a protein found in animal skin. And let's not forget about the cruelty of stealing wool from sheep or boiling silkworms alive. According to the reputed Pulse of the Fashion Industry report, wool is one of the 5 most environmentally damaging materials. Its production is also violent and cruel. The disturbing eyewitness footage gathered in 13 exposés of 116 wool operations on 4 continents by PETA affiliates makes this cruelty impossible to deny and reveals that workers in the global wool industry beat, stomp on, kick, and throw terrified sheep in order to take a blade to their bodies. Many different fibers are already used instead of wool and clothing, but Tamil Nadu's Fabor has gotten creative. They're manufacturing and custom making something that they call vegan nool, made from plants that grow in abundance in India. Silkworms may be small, but that doesn't mean that they are insignificant. We don't need silk, but the silkworms do. Roughly 3,000 silkworms are killed to make a single pound of silk. It's hard to imagine the number of these little beings killed for silk every year, considering that fact. But for those who want that silky look, there are options, and Indian entrepreneurs can ensure the number of these options grow. India is the world's largest banana producer. Now a Tirupur-based incubation center is promoting banana silk clothing production. Silk is also being made from lotus stems and other plants. Rami is a silk-like material made from a flowering plant in the nettle family. The resourcefulness and innovation of scientists and entrepreneurs make possibilities endless. For instance, the clever minds at US-based Bolt Threads produces a silky textile spun from the same protein as a spider's web, but without killing spiders or silkworms. The authors of the Forbes article were right. India can lead the vegan economy against future pandemics. India can also lead the vegan economy against cruelty to animals, environmental destruction, other damage to human health, and to address other issues related to treating animals as if they are commodities rather than the sentient beings they are. Thank you very much for listening.